everybody, and welcome to the Lead Community. Today we're going to be talking about being reflective and how it is so important to our spiritual growth. So when I think about being reflective, it takes me back to being in school and maybe getting a test back from a teacher and seeing the answers that I got wrong on it. I would go back and look at those questions and answers and figure out what the correct answer was. And that was to maybe do better on a semester test or a final test because I wanted to get all those questions right on the test, right? So that's not what being a Christian is about, is getting all the answers right 100% of the time. But being reflective can help us change our character and our mindset towards Christ. And how it does that is it gives us a moment to step back, look at the situation at a different point in time, and to bring God into the midst of it if He wasn't there already. So sometimes we can just bring ourselves into a situation without having God there beside us. And when we do that, we react with our flesh. We don't react with that mind and that heart of Christ. We react with just our own beings and our own experiences, and they don't react with truth and love in the situation, which is what we should be showing. And I don't know how God teaches you, but He likes to teach me through experiential learning. So He likes to put me in the same situation under different circumstances to see how my heart reacts. And my heart is always supposed to react with the truth and love of Christ, because that does not change. But when I'm in those different circumstances, I'll see times where I'll react more with my flesh or more with my opinion, more with my feelings, more with my thoughts. And that doesn't show the mind and the heart of Christ in those situations. So when I have a moment to go back and to be reflective, I can go back and say, Addie, this wasn't the way to react. The Bible says that we're supposed to be slow to speak and slow to anger. So next time that you're in those kind of situations, be slow to speak and slow to anger. So I know that's not your nature, but it's God's nature. And if we rely on Him, then we can react better in those situations. So it's kind of like debriefing after a meeting or debriefing after a game. After all those things that you saw that went wrong, you can go back and say, okay, next time I need to correct it this way, and next time I need to react this way, because that's going to show the mind and the heart of Christ. And it's really important to do this on a daily basis, because our flesh wants to go back to old habits really quickly. And it's also important to go and ask God to show us our heart, to show us those areas that we think we've got all together, that we think are on lock, and that we think we have them all figured out and we know exactly how we're going to react in a situation. But God knows our true heart. He knows what's buried in there. And there may be circumstances and situations that you thought you dealt with, but God can show you those areas that you need to work on with Him. And being humble and asking Him to do that shows that spiritual growth and that reflectiveness, that you want to grow with Him, that you want to be more like Him, that you want to show that truth and that love to everyone that you encounter. Now, is that easy? No, it is not. Because our flesh wants to react in this kind of clapback situation that this culture and this world really encourages. If somebody does something wrong to you, you're supposed to react and do something wrong back to them. You're supposed to want that revenge, but revenge is for the Lord. Our job is just to show the love of Christ to others. And I say just like it's an easy thing. It's not. It takes being reflective. It takes praying. It takes taking everything to God and laying it at His feet so that He can make us better, so that He can change our hearts. So, how and when do we need to be reflective? So we talked about it needing to be on a daily basis, but how can you do that? One way is by writing. You can write out everything that happened throughout the day, situations, whether they be good or whether they be bad, and write out your reactions to them. So, talking about them being good and being bad, we're really good at not seeing God when everything is going fine, right? Everything is kind of mellowed out. Everything is going our way. It's really easy for us not to see God. He's there in the midst of it, but maybe it's too easy to see Him, so we forget that He's there. So are we being grateful and thankful in those moments where we see everything's going good in our lives? Are we giving that glory and that honor to Christ? And in bad situations, it seems like that's when we search for him, right? But God doesn't go anywhere. He's always in our midst when we search for him. So what we can do is take a moment and to pray and to focus on him when we need his comfort, when we need his love, his grace, and his mercy. To come and take a moment and be reflective and to think that God is there. We just have to take a moment and to focus in back on him so that he can be our comforter. So we don't look to outside sources to be that comfort in those bad situations. So we don't look at our own thoughts and feelings to justify our actions in those situations. We react with the heart and the mind of Christ. So writing down can be helpful when you're praying to speak out loud, to be honest and have that open communication with Christ, whether you're upset or whether you are happy, to just lay it all out there in front of him can show where your heart is in that situation and places that God can help you work through. And then there's asking God, what are the areas in my life where I need to be more like you? I know, right? It's like praying for patience. You're going to get it, right? So when we ask God to expose our hearts and to show where are those areas that are dark, that I've buried down, that I haven't dealt with, and comfort me, God, and teach me how to deal with those parts. Teach me how to heal those parts, because you are a healer. You are a redeemer. How can we work through this? Now, it's not always fun. It's not always easy, but it is worth it. So it's important at the beginning of your day to get your mind set towards Christ and to keep it there maybe throughout the day when you're praying at lunch or at the end of the day. I like to be really reflective and to think back on all those situations. But if you're in the midst of a situation, taking a breath and taking a moment to be reflective of what's going on in my environment, what's going on around me, and not changing because of those circumstances in that environment, to always go back to that truth and that love of Christ. What would Jesus do in this situation? How would Jesus show the truth, show love? How can I let Jesus shine through me? So I encourage you to take moments throughout your day to be reflective, to take a moment at the end of the day to be reflective, so that your heart and mind are always on Christ. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe and share this video with others. Stay connected on Facebook and on Instagram at The Lee Community. Have a good one on purpose, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!